got art, cognitive science. And so are you also like, I guess, kind of studying AI in a way, or?
Yeah. I'm dabbling in that right now. I've been trying to train a neural network to the first step has been recognizing different shapes in my drawing style. And then this summer, I applied to a grant. We'll see what they say, but I am going to be trying to use these convolutional neural networks, which are basically just like very, they're image recognition based AI, deep learning, and try to teach this program that knows virtually nothing about creating art, especially not in my style, and see at what point or what it's capable of. I think the desire to make art is one of the most human things about us. And it would be a big milestone in the computing world to have at least some sort of more seamless interaction between computation and art, and like that's being developed already. But you know um kind of my definition of art, and we can kind of break this down later. I want to hear what y'all think about this because I haven't actually read this out to anybody, but I just wrote this down the other day. But art is a manipulation of physical materials or the self, whose sole purpose is to convey an otherwise non-existent cognitive reaction, whether it's like elicting a memory, inspiring beauty, expressing an emotion, pain, documentation of history, etc. The execution of a somewhat, powerful manipulation of material often requires a skill set that is developed through repetition and is best exemplified in like traditional forms of art like painting, music. Like there's a certain amount of things you need to learn before you can, execute that material manipulation. But as art becomes more contemporary, that sort of training period um, could become less important. But um, yeah, I think one of the things that has been interesting is how, with that interpretation of art as being a form of expressing higher cognitive function and observing it is as well. Um, it's a promising kind of wormhole to go down, at least for me as an artist and also interested in cognitive science. How this could be like replicated through computation. Um,
Dude, yeah, that's awesome.
so yeah,
I like that. That's an interesting def. Do you come up with that yourself, or?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
Y'all
cool.
are the first ones to read it, so
Oh,
I
okay,
give
cool.
me all the give me all the critiques or challenge it or whatever. I want to
Mhm.
hear it.
So yeah, there was a part I think in the first section that you were saying that um about how the art, I guess, elicits emotions or feelings that I guess you otherwise wouldn't know are there. Is that correct, or I don't know if
Right, right.
okay, interesting. I'm just kind of like trying to think about how that applies to computers, and I think are you aiming for AI slash computing to be able to create art? Is that what the intention is?
There's two avenues, and maybe one will come before the other. My overall like goal would be, especially kind of from a more practical and personal perspective, it would be how can we use this technology to lower the amount of um, mechanical and like training required to let me just put this in examples. To learn how to paint like Velázquez, the oil painting master, you may take like 35 years
What?
to be able to get to that level, let's say,
Okay.
especially in this day and age where you probably have to be working on something else, like time wise
Mhm.
you'd be that's how long it would take to express something to that level. So how could this technology be used, like, in terms of, like, computers, like, in a way, they're sort of like time savers. Like, we are able to do more complex things because we have this technology, and in being able to do those things, we're saving more, time in a way. Um, so
Okay.
I'm interested in how a computer could seamlessly make artistic expression easier and more direct from the source, which would be the mind. Like, what if you could create art by just thinking? That there's no hurdle of the mechanical execution of making something. Like, you can imagine that something will look a certain way, and then that could be constructed through a computer program and edited, and as you think about it more, it could evolve, because that's kind of ties back to the point of, you know, it's a it's an otherwise non-existent, when I say non-existent, it's not existent in a material sense, but it is in a cognitive sense. Like, I'm really interested in dreams, for instance. When you're in a dream, you feel like you're going through this whole world and so many things are happening and everything feels so real, right? Like, you're consumed by it. It's almost like when you're watching a really good movie, you're suddenly living the life of the characters that you're seeing, and be inhabiting the world that has been created for you. So, you know, along with that, it's like, given that art is getting at cognitive reactions, we can broaden what art means to just be thoughts and these abstract concepts that are often really hard to communicate. Like, so, um, I
Dude,
don't know if that makes sense, but
that'd be insane, dude. Like, the way I'm kind of picturing it is, or like you were mentioning dreams, so like somebody somebody has the dream, but, oftentimes you kind of like forget it, right? Somebody,
yeah, yeah, yeah. What if you could watch your dreams like a Netflix series?
Like a virtual lucid dreaming.
whoa.
Exactly.
Wow, that would be crazy.
Yeah, let's sum it up in something more simple like that, virtual lucid dreaming. Because I guess the complex part, and where I'm confusing myself here, is that I've increasingly, as I study the human brain more, I'm seeing art less about, um, especially like the meaning of art is almost a different form of language. Like, we use words to say what we're thinking. But we also use art to express what we're feeling, which is maybe feeling is more of an abstract uh, thing. So, the more we can perfect that line of communication, I feel like there will be more peace in the world. People will feel like they're being understood better. There's more of a seamless, like, route and avenue for expression, and that's good. That's what I want to see more of in the world.
So you're making art basically more tangible to things like computers to understand.
That's the first step, yes.
That's the first step. What would be the next step in this process?
um I'm sure it will change, but the next step would be, once a computer can understand art, it can collaborate on art.
Oh,
We can already teach an artificial intelligence to, if, let's say, there's a program right now that is increasingly controversial because you can make fake data, but that it takes the tone of your voice. Like, let's say it could take this podcast, and from each of us, it could take a 15-second clip, and then it could recreate our voice and just speak in our voice, whatever the words that someone else could, like, type into it.
that's scary. I mean,
Like,
but that's
it it
also
it de it deconstructed how you make words, and then it's making it. So I guess what I'd be interested in is using that same mentality of deconstructing art and somewhat making it in the way that you would make it, but then trying to tie it into um, rather than giving it a very direct input, the input would be your thoughts. So that's maybe the third step, combining it with
oh,
neuroscience.
that's amazing. That is so fascinating. Oh my
Dude,
god, I'm
and okay,
inspired.
so yeah, that's. Oh, jeez. So like, okay, for I feel like